Hi guys, Chris here and welcome to my Xiaomi Mi Pad 2 review. We have a look here first at the hardware. You can see that the device is very slim. It's only 6.7 millimeters thick. Not as thin as the iPad Mini 4. And it does have a nice aluminium unibody that does look very nice. This is the gold color. We do have two speaker grills here that I will later on in the video test out these speakers, but they do actually offer some impressive sound for the size of the tablet. You can see that Mi logo here, and very similar again to the Mini 4, the iPad Mini. We do have the camera up here in the top left hand corner. There's a microphone there, and the second one, slightly different placement to Apple's, and right up there. And the top we have the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Now this does support headsets with microphones and remotes, and you can even customize what the remote does later on in the MIUI 7. I'll show you that. And the build of it, very premium, very solid. It's a nice metal trim around here, and the screen itself is fully laminated. Let's turn that on quickly. You can see that it does look really nice. It's the same screen that the iPad Mini has, and a very good screen. So the front facing camera is a 5 megapixel camera. We do have the Mi logo there on the top left corner, and this is the USB 3 port, and we do have a couple of Torx screws here which help hold all the tablet together. I think if you remove these two Torx screws, there is a way using suction cups to actually pull the front face, the screen, away from the hardware. I won't actually be opening this model up though to check that out. I don't think there's any need to really. And then on the right side we have our volume up and down rocker and our power on button there. So overall, a very premium device. Feels really nice in hand. It is light. It's only 333 grams. So great weight, nice and thin. And overall, you can't complain. This is about $193. I got this one here from GearBest, and the quality of it is really phenomenal for what you're getting for that price range, considering the Apple Mini is going to be, the iPad Mini is going to be about twice the price of this. So have a closer look at the screen. The viewing angles are good. Now I have the brightness set to probably about 60% at the moment, just for this video, not to really overpower the camera sensor, but it does get quite bright. And the viewing angles, they're quite good, what you'd expect. The same again as the iPad Mini. And if you want to see what the screen looks like, you can just go into your nearest Apple store and have a look at the Apple unit, and you'll see exactly what it's like. So I'll just turn that down now to about halfway, so it's not overpowering the camera. So the UI is the MIUI 7, and if you have used Android, you'll be familiar with it. It does have an Apple-ish look to it. I don't know whether that's intentional or not, but it probably is. And there's quite a few features that the MIUI offers. Just a few extra little tweaks and things that you don't get on normal Android. For example, here with the notifications, you can actually go along here and hide certain apps and stop the notifications. So if you're sick of seeing Clash of Clans coming up saying that your army's ready or you're being attacked or whatever, you can actually just go along and you can select to disable that, allow notifications. So you could go along here and click no, so you can block that off. Now they do have the widgets and all your apps all on one, so there is no like app drawer, it's all just on one. And overall the speed of it seems pretty good. It's responsive. I have noticed now and then there's been a couple of little stutters. For example, running a game, clicking on Real Racing, just touch that, and it took a little while sometimes to start up. I do think now and then, overall their performance seems to be really good, but it's just now and then I've noticed at one time it did come up saying please wait, and the screen was all blurred out and then my icons finally showed up. But overall the experience is quite good. These settings has various different features as well that we can tweak, and the layout is slightly different to Android, but you can see it's essentially, well, it's running on Android 5.1, so it's an Android device, but it does have that MIUI 7 skin. You can see it's MIUI 7 stable. There is the version that it happens to be running, and the CPU is the quad-core Atom X5 Z8500, and 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is a shame to see because tablets like the Teclast X98 Pro have 4 gigabytes of RAM, so you can do more multitasking. you can push it a little more. It might help improve gaming performance. I have seen the scores when it comes to 3D Mark slightly high on the Pro. I'm not too sure whether it's down to the RAM. And there's quite a few settings they do have here. For example, we do have a notification light, and you can change and set the colors that you want there. So you can customize it and go along. And for example, I've got it set violet, and this is the light right up here, and it's quite a bright light. Change that to green, so it's multi-color. You can select all those different ranges there. I've just got it on violet at the moment. And child mode, so you can, if you do have children or you're buying this tablet for perhaps someone that's under 16 or quite young, and there's certain things you don't want them to be able to use. For example, if you want to block off the internet from them, then you can enable child mode and only select what applications you want your child to be able to view. It's rather handy as a parent. So if you decide that, okay, we don't want you playing games at the moment, then you can enable the child mode, and I think there is actually a password on that. You set a password to stop them, of course, getting in. So there's a few little features there. And headsets as well. A lot of it's under the additional settings, battery and performance. Now, for the purposes of the video and my benchmarks, I set the performance of the system to performance, of course, to get the maximum output for those benchmarks I was running. And you normally probably just leave that in balance to help increase battery life. And you can also optimize the system performance with the animations. Now, because the stock setting, the default setting, is actually to show all the animations, I've left those on. If you hide that, that might speed up the way the user interface feels. It might actually make it feel a little bit snappier, but I've just left that on because that is the default setting. Now, there are various other things here too. You can connect up with your Mi account. You can sync with that. I haven't actually bothered. And various other things, auto start applications, so when the tablet starts up, you can choose to have an application start automatically for you straight away. You might like that. Now, what I haven't actually found here is a way to update the tablet over the air update. And now I can't seem to see where that actually is, unless it's along here, but I can't seem to find that. I'll hopefully be able to find that later on, but it's not obvious to me at the moment. But they should be pushing out, hopefully, updates to the skin, the MIUI 7. And under the screen we do have some other display settings as well. We can change the screensaver. The double tap to wake is a nice feature, so if you're familiar with the LG, if you've got an LG G3 or G4 smartphones, where the double tap to wake is quite nice there. There is, of course, reading mode, something they advertise there, and enabling this, what it does is just change the actual output of the screen to that more yellow color that apparently is better for us when we're trying to sleep or we're going to read just before going to bed or something. It doesn't keep us awake and overstimulate our eyes. And it's just a handy thing that you can select which applications you want to run with reading mode automatically once you launch them. So if you're using Google Books or another application, or maybe you want to set the browser when you're looking at websites, instead of showing the white, you can tone that down to more of that warm white color, and it's a little bit easier on your eyesight. Now we'll just get out of this and show you the available sensors using CPU Z. We'll see they're actually a lot more than I expected. I expected that it would probably come with an accelerometer, and it would also have perhaps a gyro. Well, it does actually have a gyro. Here's the free RAM. So when you first boot it up, you do have available RAM. Well, it's actually under 1 gigabyte there. We've only got 825. So ideally, really, it would have been nicer if they put 4 gigabytes of RAM in here. And we go under system, the thermals at the moment. Oh, big advert just popped up. Great timing with that. So here we go, sensors. There's actually a lot in here. We've got game, rotation, vector sensor. We have the light sensor, of course. It's just up here, so we can automatically adjust the brightness. Let the actual tablet adjust brightness for us, so it'll choose which. And it seems to work quite well, actually. I've noticed the choices sometimes on some tablets, it will dim the screen too much, it'll be too bright. It seems to be pretty much spot on. Probably the experience they have with their mobile phones as well has allowed them to tweak that. So we've got the magnometer. We also have the gyroscope, accelerometer, of course, gravity sensor, orientation sensor. So there's actually quite a few sensors on there, which is probably going to aid in gaming when playing games like real racing that use accelerometers. It's definitely probably going to make things maybe a little bit more accurate and useful there. And the free storage that you do get, now I have a lot of applications, games installed at the moment, you actually get around about 12 gigabytes free, and this is the 16 gigabyte model. So if you're going to be installing a lot of games and perhaps put your music collection on there, 12 gigabytes is not enough. This is just the one I got at the moment. It's the only model available at the time of recording this video review. Otherwise, I would have gone for the 64-bit version, because really, I don't think 12 is going to be enough for anyone. It's just not enough there. Now you'll notice down here, it's probably hard to see on the camera, there are the status, the little lights that actually pop up. So we have our back, home, and then our recent menu tabs here, so we can do a bit of multitasking, switching between, and auto rotation is playing up for me just right there. I must have it disabled for some reason. And you can use that as a task manager just to kill everything and clear up. And it's telling me I've got about a gigabyte there of free RAM at the moment. I'll just see if I have auto rotation. And I think I have got it disabled, rotation off. No, on. There we go. It is rotating. And you see that animation. Did you see how that kind of had a little bit of a stutter to it? Just the first time it animated that. And as I mentioned before, but the performance settings, you can disable that. So it's not iPad smooth. This is not like the iPad Mini 4 smoothness. It's still got a while to go when it comes to that, if we ever see these Android devices actually being that smooth. But I mean, overall, it's not bad for an Android tablet running the Mi Skin on it. The performance seems to be okay, but we're just still lacking a little bit when it comes to that fluidness that the Apple devices have, definitely with their tablets. Now, in terms of bloatware that was pre-installed, there really isn't any. Well, okay, we do have the Mi account. The probably only really bloaty kind of application they have is the video one here, and you can see that it's all in Chinese, so that's more for the local Chinese market and not really relevant to people outside of China. You can, I think, run through this application your own files. So if you have recorded some videos on this with the 8 megapixel camera, then you can access them through here. But I'd probably rather use something like Google Video. You can see one of my videos has shown up there. But that's really the only bloatware application on there, which is really good to see, because some of the manufacturers, they just stuff these tablets full of bloatware or Chinese applications that aren't relevant to us at all. So it's really good to see that. There's a couple of handy applications there, like you got your calculator, weather, contacts, and a few others. Play Store, of course, was on here pre-installed, so you don't have to go through that nightmare of having to install Play Store. That luckily is all on there. Now I'll just move on to show you the browser, the stock browser they include. It isn't too bad, but you can of course install something like Chrome, run your browser there. And the on-screen keyboard does have Chinese on one side, but there's the option here. You can see that I've selected English. The browser that they have included isn't really that impressive at all. The performance of it is definitely lacking. Now just show you quickly, if I load up techtablets.com, when you scroll, you see that huge amount of just delay there and that lag. So it's not really that good. Now this is a heavy website because there are a lot of images on here and videos and things as well, and with the slider at the top. And because of the 4:3 ratio, it has crushed in that a little bit. But you see that just overall not that impressive at all. The browser they have included, I don't particularly like it. So you're better off to switch to Chrome, which I'll do right now. I'll just download and test out Chrome or one of the other popular browsers in Android. Now I'll just get Chrome here to start with as a test. I'll give you an idea of the performance of Play Store is quite good. Obviously there's a little bit of a delay there with my internet connection, having to load up the icons in there, all the different icons for the various apps. But even just rotate that around, it doesn't seem too bad, and that will be downloading there in the background. But you see that performance within Play is good. And the screen is really responsive to touch. I have no problems with the accuracy. Wherever I touch is what it's picking up there. And let's have a look again at techtablets.com. and see the performance difference. Just typing one-handed there. This should hopefully be much improved now, and it's definitely a bit better, but still a little bit of stutter there initially, I think, just loading in the images. But it's definitely a bit of a, well, it's an improvement from the default launcher that they include within the tablet. They won't actually let you use it in landscape mode here, because with Chrome you can just rotate it around and it quickly swaps over. Just try one more website here, just bbc.com. I have never visited this before, so we'll see how long it takes to load up. And that seems okay. A few little stutters there. Of course, it's still loading in those many images that are on this website. But overall, it's not too bad. Exit back out and go back into the default browser and move over and test the speakers. I'm just going to go into YouTube quickly and do a quick speaker test. To hear these speakers here are actually really, really good. Some of the best speakers I've heard on a Chinese tablet, and definitely some of the best for this size of tablet. So I'm just going to run some carbon-based liveforms, something that's not going to give me any copyright issues in YouTube, hopefully. And you see there, the browser had an option there to actually download the video, so it can download Flash videos. That's quite handy to be able to do that. So we'll just get the volume right up here. So we have the two speakers left and right there. They are both, actually do have speakers behind them, so they both are stereo together. They are loud and they actually sound quite good. Let's see if I can skip ahead. Okay, so I'm not sure whether that's being picked up by the microphone that I'm using, but there is actually some bass in there, and you can feel the tablet vibrate a little bit. They are loud, they have a little bit of bass, they have some mid-range, and the output that comes out of the 3.5mm jack is actually quite good. Now I'll just connect up my headset that I've got. This is just a Xiaomi pair that I have. I think it's their standard one, they call it. And sound output quality through this headset is actually really good. It's quite loud. For some reason it maxes out at 66%. I think it's to stop me from damaging my hearing. And it's put the warning there. Now it will not actually let me go when I was using the music application go past 66%. I need to figure out how to disable that. There must be an option there for me to do that. But there are some settings I'll just quickly show you too when it comes to sound when you're using the headset. You can set here to use the Mi Sound Enhancer, which is handy. So if you do actually own one of the headsets, this is the standard edition, it will adjust and tweak and tune the sound for that particular headset that you're using. So if you're using the Piston 2, which by the way aren't actually too bad, these in-ear headset that I have, I mean, it's got the microphone and the remote in it, and it does work with the tablet. There's the remote there and the microphone. It works in the tablet, it works just fine. And I found that for the price of that headset's only around about 10 US. Not bad at all for the price you get. So no complaints when it comes to the audio. The speakers in it are really good, and so is the output from the headphone jack there. The 3.5mm jack has no static and no sort of hiss over it. It's very clear and it is loud, and really for the price again of this tablet, it's quite impressive. Now for the part that I know that some of you are interested, what's the performance of the tablet like when it comes to benchmarks? You've probably seen that I've got AnTuTu and a few other benchmarks there installed. And I'll just run through the gallery and show you those. The benchmarks that I did run on the tablet. Now the first one, and most importantly, that other than most people like to know, what's the battery life like? Okay, so I did the PC Mark Work battery life test, and it got an impressive 9 hours and 13 minutes. And I don't think that's bad at all. Now, I did leave the settings it was in balanced mode. It wasn't in performance mode when I ran this test. So if you put it in performance mode, you can probably expect that battery life to be a little bit less than that, maybe 2 hours less. And I did keep the screen on the auto brightness setting, so it was adjusting to the light that was there. So just take this as an approximate kind of figure. I think you could probably get 10 hours out of this easy. Wireless was on, and you'll see there, this is the history. So it slowly drained the battery quite nicely, and where it stopped right here is when the test reached 20%. So I still had 20% battery life left. If you extended it on to as far as you could get with a battery, maybe down to 5%, easily over 10 hours. And if you turned on flight mode, I had wireless on. You can see there 19%. I had the wireless on. So if you turn the wireless off, you could even maybe get 11 or 12 hours of just video use if you're just going to be using video. So it's not a bad score at all. You can see there that PC Mark's taking up most of the usage and the screen, so they're the big consumers there. And then we have, again, just some of the scores there if anyone's interested in those. And the 3D test that I started, so this is the slingshot score. It's an okay score for the chipset. And this is iStorm Unlimited. Now the Teclast X98 Pro, which has the same chipset in it, but it has 4 gigabytes of RAM, got 26,000, so 8,000 more than this tablet here. So I'm not really sure what was causing that, if it's the RAM. iStorm Extreme score could have been a little bit higher, I think. And there's just all 3 results there. You can see a MiPad 2. And here's the Geekbench score, which isn't bad. It's almost 1,000 points on the single core and 3,200. Not bad at all for the chipset, considering it's an Atom chipset. Now this is probably going to be a little bit slower than the first generation, but you have to remember that they switched from the ARM processor to the Intel based one, so you can run this particular tablet. There is an option to buy this tablet with Windows 10, which I hopefully will be reviewing later on. So you can see here where that compares to other devices. Now the wireless test, not particularly good speeds, because I'm on my connection here in New Zealand. The upload was fine, but at the time there was something going on with the network. I should have been getting at least 20 megabits per second, and it only got 6, but that's all I got as well from my Surface Pro 4. And here's the AnTuTu 6 benchmark. Now AnTuTu has recently just changed, so the scores have completely changed. What this would be in AnTuTu 5.7 is around about 53,000, 52,000. A little bit less than the score that Xiaomi officially got, and they posted online. I think they got 8,300, but that was the version 6 beta. So this is now the official version 6 release. Just a few finer details of the score there for those interested. Just quickly show you that if you want to compare that to your own tablet. Perhaps you're comparing that to your first MiPad version. And apparently it's not far off the HTC One M9, OnePlus 2. This is the GPU bench score. The average frames per second there, 75 frames per second, is really good. And the very demanding Epic Citadel test. Now you have to remember that's running the native resolution of the screen, which is quite a high resolution, ultra high quality, and it managed to get 43 frames per second, which is not bad at all. Now I did install Playbooks, just quickly show you what it's like to use this as an ebook reader. This is just Dan Brown's Inferno. And you can see, because of the size and the weight of it, I find that it's a good ebook reader. You can either use it in landscape here and then turn it around into portrait. And it's not the fastest, but it's not too bad for reading there. You see, it's playing a little bit of catch up then. But overall I find it's good, and because the screen is so sharp, and you can put the reading mode on, you can also use the settings that come with Playbooks to change it. You can reverse this around, you can have the black screen and then the white letters, and you can change the colors as well, the text. It's a very versatile and works great as an ebook reader on the side too. Now we do have a camera on board. This is the front facing 5 megapixel camera, and the rear camera, I'm only going to briefly show you some samples of that. because I don't believe too many people are going to be using the camera on it. Now, if you do want to see more camera samples, let me know in the comments, and I can actually go out and take a lot more video and samples with it. But the ones I'll show you now, that I recently took just a few samples, and I'll show you that the macro shots came out okay. Came out extremely clear. Sunset lighting at the moment, and it looks very sharp. Not a bad photo at all. But now when there's some roses there, I did notice there's a little bit of blurring. It's an 8 megapixel sensor, but I think the image it takes isn't wonderful. Your mobile phone will probably take a better photo than this. And here's a photo that had a little bit of blur to it. So if you're taking photos of objects in the distance, I'm not sure they're going to come out particularly well. And there's a video that I recorded. This is just a very quick video test. And the video quality is average, really, to be honest. It's not wonderful. I wouldn't buy this tablet if you really want to take a lot of photos and video. I would probably then look at maybe Apple's iPad mini for that. But, I mean, it was okay. It's passable quality. And it's a front-facing cam. Took an okay photo for 5 megapixels. It wasn't that bad at all. And for things like Skype, I think it's going to be okay. Here's a screenshot, well, a photo I took of the screen of my Surface Pro 4. If you wanted to do close-up shots. Then for macros, taking photos of text and books and things, I think it's going to be quite alright for that kind of usage. So now onto the fun part. We'll just test out a few games and show you how those run. For those that want a little tablet they can do a bit of gaming on as well. So the game auto-detected the visual quality and set it at medium. You can adjust that yourself if you want to increase the frame rate, but I'm just going to leave it with the default setting. The game decided to actually pick for us, and we'll see how that runs. Seems relatively smooth. Oh, the screen has flipped around on me. I'm not sure what happened then. But it looks really good on the screen. Because this screen is so sharp, it has a PPI over 300. And the colors, they do just pop out. It looks nice, but that has definitely got some playable frame rates there. This one is Clash of Clans. Well, it's a look-down 2D game. It can actually cause some systems to have quite a bit of slowdown and lag once you have a lot on screen, so you have quite a big town. This game can get a little stuttery, surprisingly. But at the moment, my village is only a level 4 one, so not enough to start to cause any lag. But I've seen that to this kind of chipset, the Atom X5 8500, should be able to run this game just fine without any problems. And going through the menus, everything is extremely fluid. Let's do a quick attack. I'll probably end up losing because I don't think I prepared an army. So no problems with that game. Real Racing 3. Again, this game looks really nice on the screen. Still not quite at the level of the iPad mini when it comes to graphics. I think it's toned down a little bit here for Android, but you can see it's running that game reasonably fluid. Oh, bad driving there, going off. It's a little hard to steer using the accelerometer when I've got the camera and tripod set up. Oh, there's a bit of lag there. A little bit of lag coming in. I don't know if you can pick up that on the camera. This title here is Mortal Kombat X. And it's running a little slow. But you can see it's playable, frame rates definitely, but it's not as fluid as I have seen it run on some tablets. And the tablet is getting warm. Now I do have CPU temp running in the background, but for some reason the overlay showing the temperature isn't showing up here. So the game is at least playable. And the last game I'll test in this video at least is Dungeon Hunter 5. So the lobby has a little bit of lag, but it's running just fine really, actually, no problems.
Are you the leader of the Bounty Hunter Guild?
The one thing I forgot to mention, it's a very handy feature. You can actually disable the buttons along here, the menu buttons. So if you're gaming like now and you accidentally tap, for example, the recent apps or home button, it's going to disturb your gameplay. But you can disable all of those, which is a brilliant feature that I wish more people would actually add. So definitely good of Xiaomi to add that in there. So it's running this game just fine, even with all the magic effects and everything. Running at this high screen resolution, this game is definitely 100% playable, smooth frame rate. It looks great, runs great. Now you're probably thinking, why haven't I actually shown Modern Combat 5? Well, I can't get it to work. It keeps coming up with this failed to connect message, even though I do have the wireless connected up. I don't know what's going on. I've tried 4 times now and it just fails to run the game, and have rebooted the tablet as well to try and see if it's going to get past this screen, but no, it's not working. I don't know whether it's a problem to do with the game or the tablet. Now I'll just show you, if I go and select now to get out of this, normally there's a little bit of lag. No, it didn't happen that time, but the last time the screen popped up and it said 1 sec. So everything was blurred here, and then the drawer showed up. I just wanted to demonstrate a couple of hubs that I bought for the Type-C connection, the port here. This is the Apple multi-port adapter that's for the MacBook. Now, USB-C being a standard, I don't think it's quite a set standard because it doesn't seem to output HDMI. Now, plugging this in, as you would, the USB port works, so that's good. Connecting up the Type-C cable and charging works once you connect it first and then plug it into the Mi Pad 2. That works, but the HDMI here is not outputting at all for some reason. I do not know why, whether it's fault of the tablet or maybe Xiaomi have disabled that. I doubt they would have disabled video output, but that is not working. So I went and bought a generic adapter that I ordered online that actually just came in today, and that is just a plain Type-C to HDMI connector, as you can see, and it doesn't work either. Plugged that one in, connected it up to my TV. I tried 2 other TVs and a monitor, and nothing. I'm getting no output whatsoever. There doesn't seem to be an HDMI setting within the settings that you'd normally find in Android tablets. I can't seem to see it anywhere. So again, I'm not too sure whether it has been disabled or not. So to recap my findings, overall, I think this is an excellent tablet for the price. Considering this is under 200 US, you get a premium build with a non-premium price tag. And Xiaomi have done it again. They are definitely setting the standard when it comes to pricing for the kind of build quality you're getting here, it has definitely an A-class build. It has a very good screen, fully laminated. Now, I'm not sure whether it has Gorilla Glass or the Dragon Tail glass on it, but to me, it feels like it definitely has some sort of scratch-resistant glass on there. And the unibody, very nice. The speaker output is really good. The camera on the rear, the 8-megapixel autofocus camera, seems okay. It's not going to be up to probably the standards of some of the Apple products. And the front-facing 5-megapixel camera is good. The sound output from the 3.5mm headphone jack, again, very good. Now, the issues that I have, well, HDMI, as you just saw, can't get it to work. I can't seem to output any display from the Type-C port. The other factors to take into consideration, also the 12 gigabytes of storage is definitely not going to be enough for a lot of people. So I would consider the 64 gigabyte version. And then again, we have gone a step backwards in terms of the design, with not including that micro SD card slot that was on the first model. So an interesting move there. And of course, 2 gigabytes of RAM. I would have liked to have seen 4. And it would have been nice. They could have made the perfect, I think, 7.9-inch tablet with this build quality if they just had that micro SD card slot. And even an HDMI output would have been really great to see on there. But as it stands, I think this is phenomenal value for what you're getting. You have to think this is half the price of the iPad mini. And if you want that more iPad experience and you want Android, then this is the one to get. Now, when it comes to temperatures, did this actually have any thermal throttling? Well, using CPU temp, if you see on some of those benchmarks I showed you, the highest I saw it get up to was 65 degrees. But you have to remember that this is running Android. I think the Windows 10 version, Windows always seems to be about 15 to 20 degrees hotter than what I've seen. That is probably going to mean that the Windows 10 version will actually have some throttling. I hope it doesn't, but I will be later on checking out that particular model. And if this had dual boot again, would have been really good to see. But overall, I think they have definitely done it, set the standard again when it comes to price and quality. Thank you for watching the review. Do keep an eye out on the channel for more up-and-coming videos on Chinese tablets. Thanks for watching. See you later.